have US and China joined forces against India, because we are seeing a unique situation where both US and China are coercing India at the same time. And this is a situation which we haven't seen for quite some time. It has been almost 2 decades. And this calls for keen observation by India regarding the intentions of US and China, and a possible US-China alliance specifically for targeting India and eliminating India out of the power competition. We Indians need to understand that US and China share a similar geopolitical worldview. You could say that they have almost the same geopolitical worldview. And India is a drastically different, almost opposite worldview than that of US and China. The US and China want a unipolar world. That is their end game. Their end objective is a unipolar world where they themselves are the sole superpower in the world, and they control and influence the world at their will. That is the kind of world they want to create. That is the power they want to achieve for themselves and only themselves. While India, on the other hand, wants a multipolar world. India does not want to subdue other nations at its will. Rather, it wants to develop other nations and create more power centers in the world. For example, Africa being a different power center, South America being a different power center, Southeast Asia being another power center, Russia and Central Asia being another power center, multiple power centers across the world, such that no single power or no groups of powers can coerce them, subdue them, and exploit them. That is the kind of worldview India has, and that is the kind of world India wants to create, which is drastically different from that of US and China. So if India becomes a major power in future, which it has great potential to be, then a multipolar world would become almost inevitable, because then you cannot just eliminate India. India won't be a soft target anymore as it is right now. And keeping that in mind, both US and China at the moment are actively trying to subdue India at their will and eliminate it from the power competition once and for all. And how can they do that? Well, by changing the regime in India and imposing a favorable regime towards them. That is something they would like to do, but in India it is not practically possible. India is a big country with 1.5 billion people, where imposing one particular regime on such a huge amount of people for a long period of time is not possible, especially when there are lots of different types of people across India with different mindsets and thinking and ideology. So what do you do in such a situation? What is their end game with respect to eliminating India from the power competition? Well, they want to break India. They would like to fragment India into smaller countries and impose their puppets on those smaller parts. You see, in small countries it is easier to propagate one particular ideology or one particular way of thinking and influence people in the way you want. In bigger countries with diverse cultures, diverse thinkings, and with so many people, it's not possible. So that is their end game with respect to eliminating India. They would like to fragment India into small number of parts, and they are actively trying that. Northeast region of India is a soft target because it is connected to India with a narrow path called the chicken neck corridor, and it's easy to cut it off, and they're actively trying to do that by various means, by creating chaos in that region, by drug trafficking, by trafficking of arms, by creating internal conflicts, and much more. They are also doing the same with other border regions of India like Ladakh, Kashmir, and Punjab, where they have successfully sown the seeds of conflict and chaos, which they can activate anytime they want. So that is what is going on regarding the plan for fragmenting India into smaller parts and controlling them one by one. So now how can India navigate through this complex geopolitical environment where there is a possibility of a US-China alliance? Right now they are not allied. Right now they would like to break India by their own actions, not by joining forces with each other. Right now they would not completely coordinate with each other, and there is a reason for that, which is that if they manage right now to change the regime in India for a limited period of time, because only that is possible. You cannot impose a regime on India for a long period of time, a foreign influence regime for a long period of time. Even if they manage to do that, who will control it? US or China? They would never let the other control it. And then there would be a conflict for controlling that regime. That is the reason why they are hesitating in changing a regime in India by coordinating with each other. They are trying to do it with their own efforts. So that is the scenario regarding the regime change activities that are going on against India by US and China. But it is totally possible in the near or medium term future that US and China would join forces and coordinate with each other actively, specifically for fragmenting India, for breaking India, for eliminating India from the power competition. And why is that possible? Because, as I mentioned, first, they share the same worldview, which India does not, which makes India intolerable for them basically. Because if India becomes a major power and creates multiple power centers, then their game is as good as done for. Their objectives, their end goals won't be achievable anymore. That's why India is a roadblock. It's a problem. It cannot be allowed to grow. It cannot be allowed to become bigger beyond a certain extent. And that's what they are up to. So what does India do in this tough situation? Well, India needs to become big first of all. India is not a powerful country at the moment. India is a soft target. If US and China want, they can create a lot of chaos in India. And that is what they are even trying to do. So India needs to become a bigger power if they want to achieve their objectives of creating a multipolar world. A world where countries are not trying to subdue each other, or a world where it is not possible for countries to try and subdue each other. So first of all, India needs to grow. India needs to develop a lot of capabilities which they currently do not have. In terms of technology, first of all, because technology is the greatest decisive factor. If you look at history, it is the people with superior technology who have ruled over the world again and again, who have won big wars. People with superior technology. And that is what India needs to pursue. India needs to develop superior technology, not just the technology which other countries are developing, but superior technology, new technology, which would give them a significant advantage over other countries. That is the most important and most decisive factor as far as the global power game is concerned. The second one is developing alliances with like-minded countries, or with those countries who are also troubled by India's enemies. The best example is Russia. Russia has been troubled by both US and China at times. Currently it is troubled by US, but Russia knows very well that China can backstab it anytime. So Russia has been a trusted partner of India, and India can coordinate more effectively with Russia to counter these two big powers. Then there are other countries like Japan. Japan is also troubled by China. The Japanese face an existential threat from the Chinese. And not just that, the Japanese have also problems from the US because of too much US influence over them. They would like to lessen their US influence. And who can help them? India can. India needs to project itself as an option who would help Japan become more independent as far as their own policies are concerned and more safe from countries like China. So India needs to project itself as a better partner for countries like Japan. That is something India can do. The third and very important aspect is military power, which India lacks currently as compared to China or US or Russia. So India needs to develop significant military power still, because there are high chances of an India-China war at any time, because China had made their intentions quite clear that they will come for the India's region of Arunachal Pradesh anytime. They have openly stated it in front of their own people, and they will have to live up to their statement. So they are quite serious about what they said. They will do that sooner or later. India must be prepared for any kind of India-China war, and for that it must develop military capabilities quickly and decisively. And last but not the least, economy. India is nearly a 5 trillion economy, but it still needs to grow faster, much faster, because India has a smaller window in terms of demographic dividend. In the next 25 years, India will have the youngest population and a huge number of young population in that country, and that is the best time for growth, because once you do not have a lot of young people in your country and there are less workers in the economy would not grow that much. So the next 20 to 25 years are critical for economic growth. They are the key window where India can leverage their demographic dividend and grow maximum. They can grow their economy to the maximum in the next 20 to 25 years. And that is something which has to be done. So that's the entire scenario regarding the power complex of the US, China and India. If you found value in this video, then do like the video and subscribe to this channel. We'll come with much more such valuable content. See you soon. Until then.